Our big thing was the jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
How are you going to educate people about the jiu-jitsu? Because, you know, again, you and I are close to the same age. We came from, you know, the old John Wayne movies where he'd hit a guy.
Yeah.
And you'd go over and you'd stand him back up and hit him again. You didn't jump on top of the guy and start beating the shit out of him. You know, that wasn't, and boxing and everything. How do you teach people the ground game?
Right.
Well, first of all, one of the key components to that was Joe Rogan.
Right.
Who is the greatest, you know,
the UFC
play-by-play fight guy ever. He's a guy who's really educated on the sport, has actually done it, loves and respects the sport and the athletes. And Joe Rogan had this ability to walk you through what was happening before it actually started to happen, you know? And jiu-jitsu as a sport and as a martial art completely took off, and everybody started training in it. So,
would you consider Joe Rogan to be the Howard Cosell of the UFC?
100%. I mean, he's better than Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell never actually trained in it, did it, and you know, could speak about it with the love and passion that Rogan does.
Right. Is it true that Joe Rogan, he worked the first like 12, 13 shows for free to show you that he could do it?
No, he didn't do it to show. I actually reached out to him. Ivory Keenan Wayans used to have a talk show.
Keenan Ivory.
When we bought the UFC, they were based in New York. Right. So I had to fly out to New York, go through their offices myself, figure out what I was going to ship to Vegas that we needed, and throw away what we didn't.
Okay.
So they had tapes piled up to the roof. So I'm in there with a VHS, popping all these tapes in, seeing what was what. And I pop in a tape, and it's the Keenan Ivory Wayans show. And he's got Joe Rogan, who is the Fear Factor guy at the time.
Yes.
And he starts talking about his love for MMA. And it was brilliant. The interview was brilliant. And I'm like, this is the guy I need. This is the guy that could be the, you know, I didn't know how he fit in, but I was going to figure it out. I ended up reaching out to Rogan, and he's awesome. We hit it off. And he says, wait a minute. So you're telling me that I can have the best seats in the house for every UFC event and talk about the UFC? He's like, I'll do that for free. So Rogan comes out. He does the first 12 events for free. Wow. We buy him a really nice watch to say thank you, whatever. Rogan could give a shit about a watch now that we really know Rogan.
Yeah.
But that's what started the relationship. And yeah, it just, you know, I would do anything for Joe Rogan. And we haven't, you know, we're tight.
Would you consider him, even with fighters, probably one of the 2 or 3 best investments that the UFC made that you made?
100%. Joe Rogan was one of the best moves that I made early on in building this company. There were a few key people that I brought in that I believe helped get us to where we are today. And Joe Rogan is absolutely positively one of those people. And Joe Rogan will go down in history as one of the greatest combat sports play-by-play guys or color guys, whatever you want to call them, ever.
Let's talk about some of your fighters. Let's start with Conor McGregor. Grew up, obviously, at one point in time, he was getting government assistance. Turns himself into the great fighter. He's a champion in 2 different weight classes. He fights Floyd, makes a ton of money, and we're going to get to that, how and why you signed off on that deal. Do you think Conor can ever be what he once was, having accumulated the wealth? Because it's hard, and I can appreciate Brady. I can appreciate guys that make millions, hundreds of millions, and still go and act as if they're broke. So did you think that 100 million changed Conor? Does he still have the desire to go train and punch people in the face and get kicked in the face like he did when he was broke?
It's impossible for that money not to affect you and phase you. And you see it, that is, and you're so dead on. One of the things that makes Brady so incredible and unique is that not only did he every year strive to get better and better, he was never one of these guys that tried to break the bank and you know, be the highest paid guy. He would actually take less money to build
a better team.
100%. I mean, it's one of the things that now he's looked at as the GOAT, and that guy will continue to print money for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
And to be a young guy and not let his ego get in the way of being great and chasing greatness and understanding that not one person does anything. You need a team around you. And that is one of the things that I will credit Conor for too. If you ever notice, there's never been animosity or a beef between UFC and Conor McGregor.
Right.
Conor McGregor is brilliant in that way too. He knows what he brought to the table and he knows his value and his worth. But he also knows that the UFC is, you know what I mean? Much like Brady. The thing in fighting, the hard part about in the combat sports world is once you start to make that kind of money and you want to say, well, it never changed me. It's impossible not to change you. It's impossible to go from, you know, where you were to where you are today financially and not be changed. But Conor's one of the very unique few that was able to capitalize on his fame, his personality, and everything else outside of the octagon. And this is all professional sports. I mean, you played at the highest level. To stay on top of your game for many, many years is very hard to do, especially once money becomes involved.
Well, it's hard in this sport because you can't duck and dodge. You can't.
You're absolutely right. You have a team around you that where you might slack a little bit, other people can pick up and carry you. You can't get carried in this sport.
Right. See, and see, when I look at Conor and you look at what he has, his craft Irish whiskey, and I think he has a beard now. He goes from wearing sandals to have mink slippers. He goes from living in very meager house to living in an ivory tower. And he hadn't fought. I'm looking at it we last fought in January 2020. What do you expect when he steps back into the ring?
He's at a place in his life and in his career that, you know, he shows up every once in a while, but when he does, it's fun.
You know it's going to be electric.
People give a shit.
Yeah.
People want to see it. And, you know, you can't expect to always be, you know, the best in the world. It's hard to do. And you got to give it. I'll give you an example. People talk shit and say whatever they want to say, but look at Canelo. Canelo is still the man.
Yes.
You know,
he's been for a long, long time.
And he jumps in there and he does it and he goes to work, and it's hard to stay at that level for a very long time. And Canelo's another guy. I mean, what's this guy clipping 40 mil a fight?
Easy.
Something like that. You know what I mean? Not including what he's making outside of the ring. So, a very unique few can do it.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party because you know we like to do something before two something.